Alright, in today's video we are going to be taking a deep dive into the Sony ZV1 vlogging point and click camera. Now, I purchased this camera with the intention of using it for retro gaming, so not for vlogging. I'm not a professional photographer, so I don't intend to use it for too much in-depth photography, just a little bit of pictures and photographs here and there, but nothing intense like professional photographers would do. But one of the reasons why I bought it for retro gaming was because I was having difficulties with my existing camera, which is the Sony RX100 M3, and I was starting to have difficulties with video recording, with the audio coming out of sync during video recording, and then having to go back and edit it multiple times in post. And then I was also having a few problems with macro mode, and I wanted to get some of the improvements that are available with the Sony ZV1. Now, having said that, I wanted to take a quick look at the camera, and starting from the bottom, I would like to point out that there is the tripod jack available right here, and you have the battery compartment, which also houses your SD card. And the battery that's in there, I have my replacement battery right now thrown in, which I have purchased separately with the charging kit for $15. It's available for $15 on Amazon with 2 batteries and a charging pack. So I think that's a really good deal. And then also on the camera already installed is my lens cap. So you put this on and it gives you a wide angle, a little bit of a wider angle, mostly used for vloggers so they can see a wider angle of themselves and what's in the background. I'm not using it for that purpose so much. I'm using it more for the macro mode. Looking at the top of the camera, we have the hot shoe right here, which can be used to, for example, install your Rode microphone or any kind of an external mic, because the camera supports an external mic, which is with the jack on the right side right here, which we'll come to. But you also have your on-off button. You have your mode button, which on the RX100 is a dial right here, so it's a little different, but with the mode button you can select between the modes and then use this dial down here. Taking a look at the modes, I pretty much leave the camera on intelligent auto, but there are the following modes: program auto, aperture priority, shutter priority, manual exposure, sweep panorama, scene selection, memory recall, high frame rate, then there's the movie mode, intelligent auto for the movie mode, and then back to the intelligent auto, which is pretty much what I leave it on. And then you have your shutter button, and then you have your zoom, which the ZV1 has a 2.7 optical and a 44 combined optical and digital zoom, which is comparable to the RX100 Mark III, which has a 3.6 optical and a 56 digital zoom. Right here you have the background defocus option, which if you're, say, recording an individual or something that's right in front of you, you can use the background defocus to defocus all objects that are behind the subject. And then one of the things I really like about this camera, it has this nifty little record button, which stands out very well. And it's a lot easier to find than on the RX100, which it's basically right here where the menu is. It's kind of like a really small button. It's hard to find, and it's barely noticeable. So coming to the side, you have your function button. You have this dial, which allows you to select all the options on your menu. You have this little play button, which allows you to look at your photographs and videos that you've already taken with the camera. And you have the little trash can, which allows you to delete objects or pictures off of the SD card. Looking at the side, coming back, like I said, you have this microphone jack. You have your micro USB port, so you can charge the camera and transfer content off of it. And then you also have your mini HDMI port if you wanted to connect it directly to your television. And then one of the things that this camera has that the RX100 is missing is this handy dandy grip, which I think is really a nice feature to have. With the RX100, you have to buy an accessory to have that grip. Otherwise it's completely missing. One of the really cool features about the camera, and another reason why I wanted to do the upgrade, was this little display, which allows you to twist, turn it. So if you wanted to take a shot of yourself from the front, you can just turn the camera that way. Or if you wanted to view what you were looking at, just point it this way, and if you wanted to change the angle, you have that option. It's a little more flexible than it is on the RX100. And then you also have the capability of closing the camera with the display showing right there. So one of the advantages of being able to flip the screen, in addition to just being able to switch which side you're recording, is that you can cover up your screen and you have this protective side. So you don't have to worry about scratching the screen when it's on the closed side. So I think that's a neat little advantage. If we are to go into the menus, just really quick, I won't go into too much of the menus other than to show some of the settings that I use. Basically, I'm using JPEG, I use extra fine, and then I also use 17 meg mode, which is basically the highest mode this camera can support for taking photographs. And then on the aspect ratios, I use 16:9. And then for video mode, I use XAVCS HD with 60p 50M, which supports full HD and 4K modes. So it's a very, very flexible camera. And then not to go into too much deep detail, but you also have the capability, as you did on the RX100, to connect to your Wi-Fi settings. And it also has the capability of connecting to your Bluetooth settings as well. And then another one of the important settings for the camera, if you're interested in taking video that's longer than say 5 minutes or whatever the default is, you have the capability of setting your auto power off temperature to high. And that means it'll allow your camera to get hot a little bit hotter before it will auto power off. And it will give you a little bit of extended video mode, so it won't power off as soon. And so it's not a perfect solution, but it seems to work better than on the RX100, in my opinion. So those are the menus, and the only thing I didn't mention here is you also have this slot right here, which I bet you're wondering what that slot is, and it is for this handy dandy strap right here. So you can throw this in there, buckle it in, say you're at Disneyland, or say you're somewhere where you're walking around taking a lot of photos, and just in case you might happen to let the camera slip, it won't necessarily hit the ground with that strap, with that safety strap plugged in. The only thing I was disappointed with was that it didn't come included with the ZV1, whereas it was included with the RX100 M3, and it seems like it would be a cheap enough thing to add in. So with that, I wanted to get into some of the tests of the camera, kind of show the CRT, see how well it records in video mode, do some audio tests with the Rode microphone right here. And we're going to do some macro tests with the lens add-on. We'll see how well it does there. Maybe do a little bit of stabilization, low light tests, and we'll see how it goes. We might check out some of the auto focusing, how well the camera does with that. So I think it's going to be an interesting video, and let's jump into it. Alright, for the quick CRT test, I decided to use my Atari 2600 and my Toshiba 13-inch television and record a couple of games of Junior Pac-Man and Wizard of War Arcade. I'm pretty pleased with the output, although I do think it could be better. It does seem like the ZV1 is superior to the RX100 in terms of the ghosts that are flashing seem to be easier to spot. I'm pleased with the way Wizard of War Arcade came out, and overall, since I don't do recording from the CRT that often, I am pleased with this result, although I do think it could be better. Alright, so we'll do an audio test both with the microphone plugged in and without, and I'll do it with the mic facing me to get a fair comparison. Alright, so this is the audio sample with the Rode microphone plugged in, and we'll see if we like it better. I'm right in front of, I'm probably 1 foot away from the microphone, and I probably wouldn't use it any further than about 3 feet away, which is where I'm standing right now. So let's see how that compares with the built-in mic. Alright, so this is the audio without the Rode mic plugged in. I'm about 1 foot away right now from the microphone. And then if I stand back just a little bit, I'm about 3 feet away out here. So there's no mic plugged in. So now the Rode mic is plugged back in. I do notice the audio levels are way up when you have the Rode mic plugged in. That should give you an idea of, I'm talking closer into the mic, of how well the Rode mic sounds, or how much better the audio sounds with an actual microphone plugged in. We'll try to zoom in on the provided instructions. I think there's some in English right here. And without any lens cover, this is as far as the ZV1 can zoom in. Now let's throw the lens on it and do the same thing. So you can see I can get a lot closer. It's not like a little scanning, tunneling electron microscope, but it's a lot closer. And with a lot less effort, I'm able to zoom in. Testing the autofocus. I like that. It's really, really nice. Really fast. Alright, right here I just wanted to point out that you have the capability of using the touch screen display to enable auto tracking focus, which is a nice feature, but it's also disappointing that that's one of the few things that you can do with the touch display on the ZV1. Taking a look at the Ulanzi WL-1 accessory that you can purchase for the Sony ZV1. I purchased this on Amazon for about $50. This is a solid device. It does have some weight to it, and it includes this handy dandy lens cover or lens cap. And these are some of the shots that I took with and without the wide angle lens. All right, let's do a stabilization test. Just walking. Trying to hold it still though too. A bit of a jog. Alright, how about a little bit of a low light test? I'm in a closet, And I'll point to my data set right here. I'm really impressed with the low light. And now it's 8:30. I have to say, overall, I'm very impressed with the ZV1 camera for $699. It does everything I could need for retro gaming. And with a few of the accessories, it really takes it over the top. But you do need some of these accessories if you're used to having some of the features that other cameras have. For example, there is no manual focus on this camera like there is on the RX 100 series. And there is no viewfinder. So if you really want a viewfinder, it's just not on this camera. The other thing that's missing is the flash, but you can add a flash with the hot shoe, but it's an accessory. So if you really need flash for photography, probably wouldn't purchase this camera. If you wanted, if that was important, you probably would go with a different camera to begin with. But for me, for what I do, sometimes I zoom into things just to see the details, the writing, or to look at manuals, and then also I tend to record from the CRT from time to time to record gameplay footage. I don't do it very often now that I have some hardware that can capture the CRT or the output from some of the retro games, but every once in a while I still need to do that, and it comes in handy to not have to fight with the settings. Now the color that it records from the CRT tends to not look great. It tends to be lower, like not as bright greens or not as bright of purples and pinks, but I think that can be adjusted to your liking in post. If you're using a decent editing software, you ought to be able to brighten that up without too much trouble. So anyhow, that is the Sony ZV1 camera that is available. It's been out, I don't know, for about a year and a half, possibly even 2 years, and I just got my hands on one. It's going to replace my Sony DSC-RX 100 Mark III. The Mark 7 is out, and it's a more expensive camera, and it competes with this Sony ZV1. So for about $500 more, you can get possibly a better version of this. But depending upon what your needs are, this Sony ZV1 could be the perfect camera, especially for the retro gamer. Anyhow, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next Gray Defender video. Thanks for watching.